All right. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakadash. Welcome to another live lesson. Name of this one is Who or What is Babylon the Great? You know, you have a lot of misconceptions, a lot of lies being taught out there, all kind of mixed doctrines and mixed madness going on of who Babylon the Great is. You know, you have some saying that it's Rome, the popes. You have others saying that it's Jerusalem, others saying that it's the actual Babylon. Some saying all kind of crazy shit. That they're speaking about the Roman Empire, all of that. But the bottom line is that it's not any of those things. Now, one scripture we're going to go to real quick before we go to the main topic or the main scripture is in the book of Revelation 17. And there's some key points in here. Revelation 17 and 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, this great whore is the center of focus in this lesson, because this great whore represents Babylon the Great. When we jump to the fifth verse, it says, And upon her forehead, whose forehead? The whore's forehead, was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great meaning the conglomeration, the greatest conglomeration of confusion on the planet Earth, is here in America. You can see just by the way everything operates and just in general how everything is here in America that it's nothing more than a city of confusion. It says the mother of harlots. Harlots represents, a woman that sleeps with all different type of men, which this is dealing with spiritually, dealing with, you could, worship any religion, any God, anything you want here. It's you can do whatever you want to do here, as far as your religious beliefs are. It says, and abominations of the earth, because an abomination is what? Something that the Heavenly Father hates, and those abominations come in the form of sexual depravity in all forms, whether it's, adults on children, whether it's, man on man, women on women, women on beast, man on beast, so on and so forth. And it's promoted heavy here. You have recently the Roman Catholic Church, I'm not sure if this is a recent thing or if it's been going on and they're just ramping it up more and more, where, they allow the union, so-called same-sex marriages and all different types of depravity that they push out here. They allow men to become women, women to become men. They allow men to identify as women, women to identify as men, so on and so forth. They're teaching children at a very young age to choose a lifestyle of Moism, before the children even know how to wipe their ass properly. They're teaching them to choose a sexual preference, and the sexual preference that they push them to choose is that depraved, abominable one. Also teaching them to take, hormone suppressors to, identify as, boys can identify as girls, girls can identify as boys. It's just a whole bunch of madness going on. And these are the abominations of the earth. Now, when we jump down to the last verse of this chapter, verse 18, it says, And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now, there's no other place that reigns over the kings of the earth like America. American policy is everywhere on the planet. Everywhere you turn, it's on the planet. You can't put this on the Roman Catholic Church because not everybody believes in Roman Catholicism. Although you have a lot of these different religions that stem from the Roman Catholic Church, but not everybody goes along with the Roman Catholic doctrine. You have, countries where they worship Islam. They don't accept Christianity there. You may have some people there that may follow Christianity or some that may follow Roman Catholicism, but for the most part, you have a lot of countries out there that follow the religion of Islam. So everybody's not following the Roman Catholic Church or Christianity. You have Hindus, you have Buddhists, you know, you have Baha'i faith, and all different other types of, you know, religious beliefs out there where these people are not worshiping the Roman Catholic Church. All right. So this city, a city is as big as its citizens. Matter of fact, let's look up this word city in the Blue Letter Bible. And Lord's will, in this lesson, I'm going to do it in the style that Elder Pastor Hart does it. Go to the commentary, because I found some interesting stuff in there, and I want to just kind of highlight that. Now, the word for city is polis, right? You have something called metropolis. Metropolis is a mother city. Polis just simply means a city. Then it says one's native city, the city in which one lives, the heavenly Jerusalem, the above of the blessed in heaven, of the visible capital and heavenly kingdom, to come down to earth after the renovation of the world by fire. It's going to be a blast. The inhabitants of a city. All right, so pretty much, you know, a city, when people think of a city, if you type in definition of a city, right, they're going to give you things that are city definition. They're going to give you, you know, or city is only so and so big and has a, you know, population of so and so many people. Let's see, a large town, short for City of London, or what is defined as a city. An inhabited place of greater size, population, or importance than a town or village. Right, and in this case, America is known as a large city. And how is that? Because people say, well, this is a country. How can you say it's a city? Well, a city is as big, or a country is as big as, how can I word this? I guess, for lack of better words, land is as big as the population of the people. In other words, if you are born in the U.S., no matter what part of the U.S. you were born in, you are known as a U.S. citizen, no matter where you go on the planet. All right. So a citizen is the root word for citizen is city. All right. Matter of fact, let's type in citizen. Definition: a legally recognized subject or natural of a state or commonwealth, either native or naturalized. What is the best definition of citizen? A citizen, a person who, by place of birth, nationality, or one or both parents, or naturalization, is granted full rights and responsibilities as a member of a nation or a political community, right? And, you know, a city pretty much is as big as its people. You know, in all of America, wherever you're born, you're known as a U.S. citizen. That's why when you go to different countries, they label you a U.S. citizen. You know, they'll say American, or they'll say U.S. citizen, so on and so forth. All right, and let's go real quick to the Etam online. I just want to, because I had looked this up before, but I don't remember, you know, everything that was looked up before. So I typed in citizen, right? Here we go, beautiful. Citizen, circa 1300, citizen, inhabitant of a city or town. Citizen, that's the French, Anglo-French. City dweller, town dweller, citizen. Modern French citoyen, from site, see, city. All right? So a citizen is named after a city. So if you are a U.S. citizen, that means that you are a member of this nation called America, all right, or the U.S. So when we go back to Revelation 17 once again, we'll read that, and it says, and the woman which thou sawest, which is that great harlot, is that great city. It's not just a city, it's a great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And America reigns over the kings of the earth. She has her policies in everybody's backyard. All right? And we read that this woman is Babylon the Great, or this harlot is Babylon the Great in the 5th verse. So when we go to Revelation 18, right, it says in 1, And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Yeah, because when Yahweh Shai comes back with the angels, they're coming to destroy this place. You know, and the whole earth is going to shake. Notice we read earlier how this place is going to be taken down by fire. You know, when we looked at the word for city. Once this place is taken out by fire, then the new kingdom is going to be established on the planet Earth. And never, ever again will Esau or the other nations take over the kingdom. It says in Daniel 2:44 that the kingdom shall not be let out to other people. So I don't know where the hell these individuals are getting this breakdown. You know, they must be Judas bagged up, or they just must be just that bugged out, you know, to where they will teach some madness like that. All right. Now, verse 2, it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. So we are witnessing now the falling of Babylon, you know, but this was the Apostle John seeing after the destruction of Babylon, and has become the habitation of devils and the hold of every foul spirit and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So what I did, like I said, in the style of Elder Apostle Torah, was I typed in Revelation 18:2, and I typed in commentary. And usually he goes to the Bible Hub, so that's where I'm at now. They give you a whole bunch of different commentaries, and the one that we're going to be focusing on is the one called Benson Commentary on Revelation 18 verses 2 to 3. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, proclaimed aloud with triumphant joy in the words of Isaiah 21:9, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, as if he had said, what was prophesied formerly concerning the celebrated seat of the Chaldean Empire shall presently be verified in this mystical Babylon. All right, and this is also known as Chaldea. All right, now when we look up this term, right, mystical Babylon, just bear with me because, you know, mystical Babylon. I got it, but then I didn't get it. Mystical Babylon, right? Let's see. Mystical Babylon. The first reference to mystical Babylon is found in the book of Revelation. And there followed another. Okay, let's see. What does Babylon mean spiritually? Let's see. Old Testament Babylon was established in direct opposition to the plain commands of the Most High. It was a human system of religion based on the traditions and authority of men rather than the Most High. Do we not see that happening here? You know, remember, the gods of the nations are but idols. You know, Salaki, 1 minute. Let me just turn this up a little bit. All right. And we see the same exact thing happening here in America. They claim to be established upon the principles of the Bible, upon the principles of the Most High. But then when we turn around and look at it, and we examine it through the lens of the scriptures, we see that it's totally different. It was man-centered rather than God-centered, and that's exactly what this place is. Let me see what this says here. See, when you read some of these commentaries and different, you know, interpretations, you know, some of this shit sounds good, but when you know the scriptures, you know, it's like this is some cleverly put together shit, you know, shit cleverly put together. All right, because this here, it says, what does Babylon symbolize in Revelation? Babylon, which symbolizes the wickedness of the world. But no, it doesn't symbolize the wickedness of the world. It tells you directly that it's an actual city or an actual place. You know, now it has pushed its wickedness upon the world. This is where that cup comes in. But Babylon does not symbolize the wickedness of the world. It symbolizes the wickedness of America. This place, America, Babylon the Great. And through this place, the cup of the Lord's indignation, that filthy cup that has all different type of abominations in it, has been pushed upon the planet, and the leaders of these nations have actually drank that, and they've actually given it to their subjects or the people that are subservient to them. All right, that's how it got out there. It says, will be destroyed at the second coming of Yahushua, correct? If we follow God's command, only the Israelites and the elect of the nation of Israel come out of Babylon. We will not partake of the sins of the world to be, nor be overtaken in the plagues that will destroy it. And pretty much when it says come out of Babylon, that doesn't mean, you know, to leave her ways or to leave America, go to another country, Canada or Egypt or whatever. It's talking about when the Lord comes, the chariot is going to raise up the elect of the nation of Israel out of here so that they won't be partaking in the devastation and the destruction that the Lord is going to bring, which is the second death, which is the lake of fire. All right. So now let's go to Revelation 18. I'm sorry, back to the commentary. All right. Mystical Babylon. So pretty much mystical Babylon means, you know, the religion, the America follows the religion of all of these different ancient empires. And the word Babylon, which goes back to the Hebrew word Babal, or you could say Babel, or Babal Hebrew, means confusion. All right? And all of these different religions put together and all these different philosophies and schools of thought put together cause nothing but confusion. Remember, the Lord said he's not the author of confusion. It says the fall was announced before chapter 14 and 8, Revelation 14 and 8, but is now declared at large and has become a habitation of devils. Here it is foretold that after the fall, she should be made a scene of desolation, and she is going to be made a scene of desolation. All of America will be wiped out. All of the mountains and hills and cities and bridges and tunnels and, you know, and buildings and all of that. And vehicles and people are going to all be wiped out. So where it's going to be a plain and nothing but foul spirits, you know, meaning the unclean birds and animals will be here. All right. It says, as the ancient Babylon was, and this is not true because ancient Babylon is still thriving. And this is why you have to be learned, because if you're not, you will read this and get confused. Because ancient Babylon is not desolate. Ancient Babylon is still thriving today. You know, that's over there in Iraq. You know, and ancient Babylon was not taken down, you know, by fire. Ancient Babylon was not, you know, taken down by a major war. Ancient Babylon, it was just like a hostile takeover, you know, if you want to put it in terms. All right? And that hostile takeover was Darius the Mede, under the orders of Cyrus the Persian, went up in there and took, you know, Belshazzar, which was the son of Nabonidus, I believe his name was. He was the vice regent, you know, of the empire, because his father was the one that was fighting wars. And for a period of about 10 years, his father was locked up. So he had put his son in charge of the empire while he was locked up. And when he came out, he continued to let his son have that power, because he was still out there fighting wars, you know. But Babylon was not taken down by any major war. You know, it was Darius with his, you know, however many he had with him, you know, took the nobles of Babylon down and their wives, you know, at that feast that they had. And that's how Babylon fell. Babylon did not fall by no great fire that the Lord said would come to it, to the real Babylon, which is Babylon the Great. All right, so it says, according to the prediction of the prophet respecting ancient Babylon. No, well, the ancient Babylon wasn't taken out like that. Now, he puts a scripture in Isaiah 13 and 19. And Isaiah chapter 13 and 19 is actually speaking about America, Babylon the Great. So the 19th verse, right, it says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency. Now notice it's written somewhat like we read in Revelation 17, how she reigneth over the kingdoms of the earth. And that is true with America. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So how was Sodom and Gomorrah overthrown? It was thrown by the Lord causing a fusion together of different elements to create fire in the heavens. and to come down and rain upon those 5 cities and destroy them all. And that's how America is going to be taken down. But the way that America is going to be taken down is by thermonuclear destruction, the laser from the chariots, and it could be very possible that when the Lord comes back, he can fuse the elements together once again, and fireballs can come out of the sky also, along with the lasers from the chariots and the missiles. We'll see. Right? It says it shall never be inhabited. Right? Ancient Babylon, if you go there, there's still people there. There's still people inhabiting that region of land. There's still people walking around. There's still people doing business out in the land of Iraq and all those different areas. All right. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. This goes hand in hand with Isaiah. This is Isaiah 13. Goes hand in hand with Isaiah 34. Goes hand in hand with Isaiah 47. Goes hand in hand with the different chapters in Revelation. And many others. Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51. These are all hints that in these latter days, this place of Babylon, which is a code name for America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed in this fashion, in this manner. Ancient Babylon was not destroyed like that. You still have buildings standing. The scriptures speak about the day coming that shall burn as an oven. It also says that the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Those elements in Babylon, you still even have certain ruins in Babylon, in that area, that have not been totally thrown down, that were not burnt down with fire. All right, because that's how America, Babylon the Great, will fall. Neither shall it be dwelt from generation to generation. There's still people living over there in that land. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, because the Ishmaelites are not going to come to this country anymore and set up shop like they've been doing. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there. And this is what we're reading in Revelation, the 18th chapter. And their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. In other words, after the destruction and the smoke clears and everything clears up, and no more heat, no more ashes and all that, you're going to have wild desert creatures that are going to be on the soils of what used to be known as America. They're going to be in patches of land that used to have the White House, or that used to have the Pentagon, or that used to have City Hall, or that used to have Supreme Courts and all of that. You're going to have wild animals inhabiting those areas, all right, that used to be, governmental buildings of America, Babylon the Great. And that's what it's talking about. So it says, and wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. Right, because the scriptures speak about the lines of confusion and stones of emptiness, meaning that you're not going to know where one state ended, the other one started. You're not going to know where lakes were at. You're not going to know where there were governmental buildings distinct from residential buildings, distinct from business buildings, so on and so forth. You're not going to know where any of that stuff is at. And this is where these desert creatures are going to be inhabiting. And the time is near to come, and the days shall not be prolonged. So going back to this to the commentary, right? We're not going to read the scripture again in Isaiah 13 because it worded it out, right? But then when you go down to satire shall dance there, it says, where the word sha'ai war yum, which is satires, which we translate satires, the 70 renders diamonia, meaning demons or devils, who were supposed sometimes to take the shape of ghosts. No, that's not what that's talking about. It's talking about pretty much the unclean animals that will be inhabiting this place, that will be considered to be devils. All right, that's what it's talking about, because they're unclean. It says, and to haunt forlorn and desolate places, and it is from the translation of the 70 that the apostle had borrowed his image and expression. According to this prediction, how horrid were the inhabitants of desolate Babylon to be as long as the world shall stand. Of invisible beings, devils, and unclean spirits. Now, see, they're going off on it. They talking about like apparitions and all that. No, they ain't gonna have that. You know, what's gonna be here is unclean animals. All right, it says of visible beings, every unclean beast. It's talking about every unclean beast, every filthy and hateful bird. That's what it's talking about. Suppose then Babylon to mean here heathen Rome. No, does not mean heathen Rome, although it is in the sense of the second leg of the Roman Empire, or the reincarnated Roman Empire, which America is the capital of that. So you could say it in that fashion, but the way they're trying to paint it is as if it's Rome over there in Italy. No, it's America. The new improved, or the new reincarnated version of the Roman Empire through America. All right? And the fall predicted in his chapter to have been affected by Tortillus, king of the Ostrogoths, as Grotius would persuade us, which is bullshit. Or Alaric, the king of the Visigoths, as the bishop of Rome, said to have been the habitation of devils. So this they're going off on this, but just using this as a catapult to show you that even devils don't really know what the hell's going on. You know, they'll give you good information, they'll give you precepts, but they don't know the whole history of it. They don't know the whole prophecy of it because they're not prophets. You know, and everything that they teach is based off of something that somebody else taught that is a curriculum that's followed in these different schools of thought, you know. So we're going to leave it there because, you know, it's going to go on and on. It's going to speak about the Roman clergy, you know, because you have some that believe because it's 7 mountains on which a woman seated that it's talking about Rome. No, it's talking about America. And America also, like ancient Rome, was established upon the 7 hills. You know, I believe it was in D.C., you know, because D.C. is the capital of America. You know, and you have Capitol Hill, and you have other hills that were set up and established like ancient Rome, because the Most High put the Spirit on them to do that. You know, going back to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. All right. So when we go to Revelation 18, and let's go to Revelation 18 and 3, right? It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of a fornication, right? And this is talking about America, that all these nations have drank of this cup that America has pushed out there. And all you got to do is look at the mannerisms, the layout of these different nations, you know, their buildings, their structures, their businesses, the ideology that they follow. It all goes back to America. You have something called Americanization. Look that up in the Wikipedia. You know, Americanization is nothing more than Hellenization or Romanization. Just by the name of Americanization, where they have the ideologies of America pushed throughout the planet. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, ain't nobody waxing rich off of, you know, the Roman Catholic Church. Even though they try to tell you that, yeah, you know, through their trinkets and their spiritual wisdom that they gave the people, this, that, and the other, that's how the people got rich, the Vatican got rich, whatever the case, it's bullshit. All right, and as you read further into the chapter, you'll see how the world became rich and what manner of vessels were used for them to get rich. So when we look up this word merchants, because they'll try to say these merchants are the priests, the cardinals and all this of the Roman Catholic Church, a bunch of madness. But when you look up this word merchants, I believe the word there is, emporos, which is where you get the word emporium. Right now, let's look up the word emporium in the dictionary etymology. It says place of trade, mart, from Latin emporium, from Greek emporion, trading place, right? Because it is a trading place. And what is it? What is the trading that they do? They bring, different goods from other nations here to America, a consuming nation, and they in turn turn around and buy their goods, therefore making the people of these other nations rich because of the costliness of America. See, you can make stuff in other countries cheap, but you can't sell it that expensive, because of the people that don't have it like they do here in America. See, America being a consumer nation, they spend a lot. They eat out a lot. These different countries, most of the people, most of the time, they always eat inside. It's very rare they'll go anywhere and buy any food. They cook themselves. You see? But here in America, it's a different beast. So it says, market from emperos, merchant. All right? It says originally traveler. Yeah, because you had to travel in order to sell your wares. All right? So emperos in the blue letter is one on a journey. See? A traveler. Whether by sea or by land, especially for what? For trade. A merchant as opposed to a retailer or petty tradesman, right? A merchant is a retailer is somebody that gets their stuff from a wholesaler, But a merchant is one who sells their merchandise. You could sell one piece or you could sell 1,000 pieces, And pretty much that's what a retailer does. He'll buy from a wholesaler which sells bulk, and then the retailer will turn around and sell 1 or 2 pieces, to customers, however the customer wants to buy. All right, so it says merchants of the earth waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And when we look up the word delicacies, right? The word delicacies is strenos, right? It says excessive strength which longs to break forth over strength. Luxury, see? So that's the luxury. Delicacy, and that's how they pretty much became, the sought after place to sell their wares, because you can sell it a lot more expensive. So there's a lot of luxury here, that goes on here in America that the majority of the world is not able to attain. But now these different nations that at one time were poor, through the money that they made here in America, have established their own infrastructure or economic infrastructure, and now they're able to live extravagant like they did here in America. And this is another way that America influences these different nations to be like America. That's why you go to places like Singapore and China, Japan, and other places, Dubai, and they'll have what? They'll have McDonald's, they'll have Hooters, they'll have Burger King, Krispy Kreme, Starbucks, all these different companies and corporations that are made here in America. Instead of them doing their own thing, they're following behind the whore, because they're drinking of that cup. And how did they get to drink of that cup? Because the leaders of their country drank of that cup, and they pushed it upon its citizens. All right? So Revelation 18:4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partaker of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. That's talking about the chariots bringing the elect of the nation of Israel out of America. For her sins I reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Because you're going to pay. Whether you choose or whether you refuse. How much he hath glorified himself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. So let's look up this word deliciously. Right? That's in the 7th verse, Revelation 18:7. Deliciously goes back to the same word that we read for delicacies. Steleniaho, which is another variation of it. To be wanton, to live luxuriously. Right? Because when you have money, right, especially somebody that's not used to having money, they spend it, unadvisedly. They spend it, carelessly. You know, people here, they become wanton. Like they had I'm not sure what movie that was, where they had the Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard fight. And when he started, when Roberto Duran, who came from, I believe that was Panama, he was very poor. But when he got here, he was spending money like water. He was very undisciplined because he never had it like that. And that's why people become wanton here, because they come from a place where they have nothing to come to a place where, you know, riches are in abundance to them. And they spend it carelessly. All right. Deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. Let's see. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. And this goes hand in hand with Isaiah, the 47th chapter, where the Lord told her to sit on the ground. Matter of fact, we're going to get that real quick. Matter of fact, let me hold on to that just in case. Going to get this real quick, but I want to go. I looked up the word queen. And the word queen is Basilisa, which is the feminine way of Basileo. Basileo is king. Basilisa is queen. Right? And it could also mean to reign. It could mean kingdom. It says queen, and it doesn't really say much more after that. It just says queen. That's it. So when we go to Isaiah 47:1, it says, "Come down and sit on the dust, in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon." See, it keeps on speaking about Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great. This ain't talking about ancient Babylon. This is talking about America. And the reason why it's saying to sit in the dust, sit in confusion, because you were sitting on a throne. But now it's time for you to come off that throne, because you got that throne not by right. And you know what the scriptures say about those that get something not by right. You know, they're going to end up giving it to somebody else that's more worthy than them. It says, sit on the ground, there is no throne, right? Because she's sitting a queen right now. O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, right? You're no longer going to be called tender and delicate. You know, like when you see these people, like the so-called royals, they act all tender and delicate and proper. You ain't going to be acting like that no more. You're going to go down to a pauper state. You're going to go down to a poor state, to a peasant state, where you really belong. All right, so let me see. I looked up this word tender. Let's see what tender. Inside joke. Let's see what the word tender is. The word there is rock. We're going to look up tender and delicate. Rock is tender, soft, delicate, weak, right? Because these nobles are really weak. You know, because they lived a pampered lifestyle. Remember, how does that go? Hard men make easy times make soft, or weak men make hard times. You know, so when you live in that soft lifestyle where you're waking up in silk, you know, and different, you know, fabric, you know, linen, and different, you know, like different fabrics, you know, those delicate fabrics, you know, wear the best of everything, you eat the best of everything, you're catered to at every whim, you don't do anything, you become soft. That's why they tender. Then it says gentle words. And then it says delicate. Let's see what it says for delicate. The word there is ainag. Ainag for delicate. Dainty, delicate. Right. Luxurious. See? So that luxurious lifestyle made them soft. The concha and the booze make them soft. Inside joke. And that's pretty much it. We'll go back to Revelation 18:8 now. Therefore shall plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly, meaning entirely, burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, who judgeth her. Then it says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, meaning wanton, luxuriously, shall bewail her. Why will they bewail her? They're going to and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Why? because they will no longer be able to make that money that they were making. As long as these devils, these nations can make money off of America, they're still going to keep using it. But once it comes to a point where they can't anymore, they're not going to have another choice. But now they're still making money. Even though they're going back to their countries, making the products in their country and sending them to America and becoming rich that way. Because it's a lot cheaper. Because everything here in America is getting more and more expensive because the dollar is being devalued by the day. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, a great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Because it's only going to take 1 hour, 60 minutes, for this place to be taken out. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. That's why they're going to be weeping. Not because they're going to feel sorry for this place, because they know this place got it coming. And the consensus of all these different nations, they hate this place. They hate it. But the only reason why they still deal with it is because they still stand to make money off of it. And that's the only reason why. Now it's going to go into the merchandise that is sold here. Right? This does not fit the Roman Catholic Church. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and also ironwood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots. You know, you go down to, the wholesale district in New York, which is like it's not the capital, but it's like the capital of America, or the capital of trade. They have the wholesale district. You can buy every and anything there, from watches to perfumes, to chew sticks, to incense, to rugs, to paintings and spices. You could just buy food from the four corners of the earth. You can buy urns and all. Man, whatever you want, you can buy down there. You can find down there clothing and sneakers and whatever. Electronics. Whatever you need, they got it down there. Then you have cars that are imported from other nations here. You can buy in America also. And from America, the wholesale district, a lot of stuff is shipped all over America. Same thing with California. California has a lot of ships that come in there, that ship a lot of stuff across America from these different countries. So these countries are getting rich off of the abundance of America. It says, and slaves and souls of men, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly. Dainty means liparos, which goes back to the word lipos, which is fats. Like your burgers, fries, and all your fried shit that you get here. And goodly, which goes into the word lampros, which is like luxurious, are departed from thee. Why? Because they're going to be destroyed. And thou shalt find them no more at all. This place will never again be inhabited by humans again, but it will be inhabited by desert creatures. The merchants of these things, listen good, which were made rich by what? By her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet. Why? Because they were living luxuriously. Just like, the rich man fared sumptuously every day, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. So these people were made rich by way of ships. Not by going to the Roman Catholic Church and getting the wisdom of the Roman Catholic Church, and then they traded them. They gave them little trinkets and little blessed beads and all this rosary beads. No, they were made rich off of these some of the substances we read up above this, and they came here by way of ships. So we look up the word shipmaster. All right, the word shipmaster goes into the word kubernites, where you get the word government. Kubernites, steersman, helmsman, sailing master, right? Like the scriptures speak about in the book of James about is listed by the governor or something like that, because you have the captain of the ship. I'm the ship of the captain now. Inside joke. That controls the ship. Well, these shipmasters, which are expert navigators, they come to this country, bring forth goods from their country to sell them here. All right, and let's see what else we got. And every shipmaster and all the company. You know what? Let me look up this word company. Or homilos. A multitude of men gathered together, a crowd, a throng, right? Because you have a company, a multitude of men. Because you don't have just one person. You don't just have the captain of the ship. I'm the ship of the captain now. You know? You have many people that work on that ship. Now you look up the word ship. It's ploion. Ploion. A ship. A sailor. An example, vessel. Ship, shipping. All right. Then we have the word sailors. You have the word nautes, but you have the word nautilus. All right. Nautilus, which I believe means water. Marine cephalopod, from Latin nautilus. Marine snail, squid, from Greek nautilos, paper, nautilus, sailor, right? It's a sailor. It actually means sailor. A poetic form of nautis, sailor. From Norse, ship. Yeah, it goes back to the word ship. All right? I thought it meant water, but I was wrong. I was really wrong, G. All right? So going back, nautes, a sailor, seaman, mariner, ship, sailor, shipman. That's how they made rich. You know, the company of ships, the sailors, you know, the merchants, the shipmasters. It says, and as many as trade. You got the word trade here. The word trade is ergatzomahi. Right, which goes back, like the scriptures speak about, you know, trade, you know, like the Lord gave the workers the money to trade, to make more money. The purpose of trading is to make money, exchange one thing for another, to work, labor, do work, to trade, to make gains by trading, do business, to work for, earn by working, to acquire, right? Then it says, by sea. They traded by sea. Let's look up the word sea. Thalassa, which means the sea. Used of the sea in general. Used specifically of the Mediterranean Sea or the Red Sea. And just in general, it's called the sea. They trade by sea, meaning by water. All right. And then here, the root word says alls, which means salt. Because at one time, salt was used for trading. There was a salary, which comes from the word salt. You know, that was given to the soldiers. Or whoever, you know, was doing trade. And he cried when he saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Right? What other city is like America? You know, what other place around the world is like America? Now, these places are becoming like it, but they're still not like America. They still haven't achieved the greatness of America, and they never will. The closest one right now is China, and they're going down. It says, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. And let me see what that word costliness is. It's the word timiotes. Timiotes. Preciousness, costliness, an abundance of costly things. Metaphor worth excellence, right? Expensiveness. You see? Because they can make something in their country for a penny or two and sell it here for $2, $3. Do you know how much overhead, do you know how much more money they get? There's a term for it, I can't think of it right now. Do you know how much more money they get? You saying, well, you make it for a penny or two, and you sell it for $2, $3. That really ain't nothing. But you're gaining a whole lot more, because if you make it for a penny and you get $1 out of it, that's almost 100%, profit. You know. So if you made it for a penny, you sold it for, even if you made it for 2 pennies and sold it for $1, that's still a large profit. You know, that's like a 98% profit. And you know they sell it for a lot more than that. So they're getting paid, man. These nations are getting paid, so they're gonna be sad when this bitch go down. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. Right. And that day cannot come back, cannot come fast enough. Trust and believe. It says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So now my question is to these individuals that teach preterism, that say that all the prophecies have been fulfilled. What great event in history? When did this great event in history happen? Where people were moved by a place called Babylon the Great being destroyed and falling down, and they were just in awe, and they couldn't sell their wares anymore. What great event in history covers this prophecy here? Inquiring minds want to know. It says, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman or whatsoever craft he be shall be found no more any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. No more music, no more singing, no more working, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. See, that's that cup, your deception. Because that deception that you're pushing upon the people of being moles and all of that, accept this and we'll give you money, this, that, and the other, those are sorceries. That great deception that you push upon the world, those are sorceries, witchcraft. It says, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Because a lot of people have been murdered here in this country. And you're going to have to pay for that. Especially, the people of the Lord. And even the ones that are not people of the Lord that you killed, unjustly, you're still going to have to pay for that too. So Babylon the Great is America. It's not the Vatican. It's not Rome. It's not Jerusalem. It's none of those places. It's America. Because through America is where all of these different nations are getting paid off of and becoming super rich. As to one time it wasn't like that. Now they got it like that. because of America. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.